problems. When I looked at the data log from this past weekend, second I let off the trans brake, the throttle position goes from 100% to 95%. I was trying to figure out if I was letting off of it, but what's actually happening is the motor is shifting backwards by even an eighth of an inch to a quarter of an inch. Moves that pedal a lot because it's directly connected to the engine or the throttle body with a rod, and also the alternator is connected to the frame. So if it moves, it pulls it out of alignment, and when it does that, it shreds the belt. And actually, when it shred the belt, it's slung that little shred around, and it unplugged my water pump, and it almost overheated the car really bad before I noticed what happened. So this will serve two purposes. It's going to keep the motor from moving and also keep the belt alignment where it's supposed to be. I guess I should have known, because whenever I'm driving the car to the pits, I shift a gear and I can feel clunk, and I can kind of feel the firewall move a little bit. That it definitely means that it's moving some. So I've made this rod. It's going to bolt to the transmission cross member, or where the cross member would be. It's going to bolt here, and then I'm going to weld this tab to the frame, and then that'll bolt up like so, and that'll keep any lateral movement out of the motor and the transmission, because the motor and transmission are tied together through the firewall. So that should stiffen it, and if it's still moving, then I can take another rod and then triangulate that back into one point. I think this rod will be fine. Time will tell. Here's the finished product. Should be sufficient little brace there. I think it's 1/2 inch solid rod, and then those tabs are 1/4 inch tabs, so it should keep this thing, you know, nice and solid. I took a pry bar from the corner of the transmission and that crossover tube right there and tried moving it. Before I put that brace in there, I could hear it. I couldn't really see any movement, but I could hear that it was flexing somewhere. Now I don't hear any sort of flexing or movement. So I think that'll work. I guess we'll just have to test it out and see. So there's something I've been putting off for a while. It's not something you really want to spend money on. Some of the systems are pretty expensive. This one was about $800, but I've been seeing more and more of this fire in people's cars and trailers, and just fire in general. So I decided to go ahead and put a fire suppression system on the car. It's a Stroud 10-pound. It's a halon charged bottle. Halon is a gas kind of similar to CO2. It displaces the oxygen. You can breathe it, but you can't survive off of it. But you're going down the track, you catch on fire. It takes you maybe 5-10 seconds to stop. The system is spraying. You can hold your breath for 5 or 10 seconds. You don't want to be burning for 5 or 10 seconds. So, it looks like it's going to be fairly simple install. They set the bottle up somewhere in the car. The ideal position is straight up and down, and parallel with the chassis, or parallel with the frame rails. And then you take and you put on the bottle head, which has the quick release on it, and you have a cable. And then you pull the cable, and the safety pin is undone. Then it discharges the whole bottle. There are 3 places you want these nozzles. One is directly under the pedal assembly, pretty much facing towards the driver, down towards the legs and stuff like that. because the first place any fire is going to come through is any crack or hole through the firewall, and as you're going down the track, the air is blowing towards you, so all that fire is going to come this way. The other spot is underneath the hood, primarily pointed towards the fuel cell and the injectors. So again, when the air is blowing, you want the nozzles in front of everything. So as the air is pulling it, then all that gas sprays on the fuel cell and down the front, or down through the motor, and hits the firewall and hopefully puts all the fire out, from the front to the back. So got the 3 nozzles. You got the hard line here. It's a 1/4 inch hard line, and it's going to be -4. And then you have the quick release cable. The only trick I know that you should do is pull this cable out and go ahead and lubricate the whole thing. The last thing you want is to be able to have your system in there, it's been in there for years, you never needed it, and all of a sudden you need it, you go rip on that cable and it won't come out. You're on fire and it's going to hurt. So go ahead and lubricate that up so when you need it, you can use it. That's pretty much it. I'm just going to route the hard line from the back, probably through the trans tunnel, and then it's going to split off and then go up to the front. Probably right there at the fuel cell bar that goes in front of that, the guard, and then directly underneath, somewhere underneath the pedal area, so it spreads up towards the feet. So, and then I guess that handle, because I have my chute up here, I'll have to find somewhere. I might put it up there, somewhere like right over by the switch panel on the far side, just so I can reach it. But yes, you definitely want to make sure that when you're strapped in there, because when you're good and strapped in there, you shouldn't be able to move forward at all, so it's within arm's reach, so you can just quick grab it and pull it. So, yep, that's pretty much it. I made me a little bracket for the bottom mount. It will sit here, and in order to keep the actual cylinder from contacting down here, I have to put this little standoff on it. So it'll go something like that, and then I'll just 2 screws here and up there. Had me some nice little slivers of flat bar, but I couldn't find it, so I opted to use a piece of a square, so it'll work just fine. I'll weld this on here, and then I guess this metal is a little bit harder, not really great to bend, so I'm going to have to put a little bead across there, but no big deal. Go ahead and fire up the welder. So I have the lines ran. There's the one underneath the pedal assembly to spray up on the feet and everything. Then the ones up front. There's one there facing towards the headers. And there's the other one on the other side. All I have to do now is fit the mount for the handle somewhere. I think it's gonna be about right here, I'm pretty sure. And then trim the cable to fit there. So it looks pretty good. Something like that, so it's a little bit more to do to be ready to go. Okay, so I just pulled the converter out of the transmission. Fixing to pull this thing apart and change the stator. It was the one in here's a 1445 or 1545, and this one is a 1555. So that effectively will change the stall around 800 RPM higher. So shift recovery should go from around 5,200 to around 6,000. Should be somewhere around there. So I'm gonna drain the fluid out of here and then go ahead and start taking this thing apart.